Welcome to online Module 3 of Task Force Meeting 5 for the Suncoast Corridor. Thank you for continuing to engage in the MCOR's Task Force process through these virtual sessions. In this module, we will review additional priority data requested by Task Force members at previous meetings, present the process for ensuring consistency with state, regional, and local plans, review existing and baseline forecasted traffic data, examine existing capacity projects, proposed task force avoidance comments, and discuss existing corridor enhancement opportunities. Should you have any questions about the information contained in this module, please contact Ryan Asmus, FDOT Production Lead, at ryan.asmus@dot.state.fl.us. We will begin with a review of additional priority data requested by task force members at previous meetings, presented by FDOT's Brian Brooker.
This presentation will discuss additional priority data requested by the task force. Since task force meeting number 4, we received a request for more specific data related to land use utilization. To fulfill that request, we put together this slide, which illustrates the future land use designations for the counties within the study area using a simplified and consolidated legend. Note that municipalities are not included at this time. Some of the land use types shown are agriculture, commercial, conservation, industrial, residential, and recreational, to name a few. This information is available on the web-based GIS tool and also available in your member packets in the Resource tab. Using the GIS tool, you will be able to identify the specific underlying future land uses established by the local governments.
We will now move to a discussion on the process for ensuring consistency with state, regional, and local plans. FDOT Chief Planner Weiwei Shin will lead this discussion.
This presentation is focused on the question that was raised about how are we going to ensure that the MCOR's process is consistent with state, regional, and local plans. There are many existing state, regional, and local plans related to transportation and land use. Some of them are required, some of them are optional. These state and federal laws and rules describe areas for consistency, coordination, and other considerations. Basically, the processes are iterative, and there are different processes for rural and metropolitan counties. Some of the key documents are Local Government Comprehensive Plans, MPO Long Range Transportation Plan, and their Transportation Improvement Program, and also the overarching policy plan for the entire state of Florida in terms of our transportation policy goals and objectives is called the Florida Transportation Plan. If I have to boil my entire presentation down to one sentence, it'll be any MCOR's projects will be coordinated with our local and MPO partners and be identified in the statewide Transportation Improvement Program before they can proceed. Of course, we also have to make sure that the financial and environmental feasibility studies are done for these projects as well. We're not skipping any steps. During Task Force meeting number 4, we discussed the importance of the local government comprehensive plans. These plans include goals, objectives, policies, future land use maps, and other resources that can be key consideration for planning transportation corridors. We had a synthesis of all the local comp plans during the last meeting and had a very robust conversation about the coordination. Transportation planning and land use planning are done hand in hand right now. We've made a lot of progress within the past decade or so, so we're not doing our planning efforts in different little silos. All the mechanisms for collaboration and partnership are there, and we're well positioned to take our coordination effort to a higher level. And after the completion of the task force process, everyone at the table and many others will still be engaged with the department in various roles during the alternative corridor evaluation process and the future PD&E process and subsequent phases to help us making sure that the guiding principles are being followed and carried out throughout the future phases for M-Course projects. Right now, the department is partnering with our DEO partners to provide some resources to the regional planning councils so that once we have task force recommendations, local governments, if they need assistance to revise their comprehensive plans, we can provide technical assistance to them and also work with them on interchange management plans. In rural areas where there's the counties where that is not in an MPO area, the additional transportation planning considerations beyond consistency with the local government comprehensive plans are projects in rural or non-metropolitan areas outside of an MPO planning area need to be consistent with the goals and objectives of the FTP, which is the high-level policy framework outside of the MPO areas. And then corridor projects must be included in the statewide transportation improvement program before they can move forward. Additional provisions in MPO areas is that we need to consider goals, objectives, and strategies of MPO long-range plans. We're in the process of working with MPOs within the study area on a generalized description of the M-Course program. The MPO long-range plan process already is required in statute to be consistent with applicable local government comp plans, as well as to consider the goals and objectives of the Florida Transportation Plan and the transportation goals and the policies. As corridor projects move forward, they will be identified in MPO long-range transportation plans, cost-feasible plans with 25-year horizon, and transportation improvement programs, which has a 5-year horizon. The timing is generally a part of an amendment or the next major update. As with the comprehensive plans, this can be a two-step process. It could begin with a general discussion in the LRTP to recognize early planning for a corridor, which eventually would become specific project information in the cost-feasible plan and the transportation improvement program.
Florida Turnpike's Toll Studies and Express Lanes Development Administrator, Barbara Davis, will now review existing and baseline forecasted traffic data.
Here's the agenda for today's presentation. First, I'll provide an overview of the current and upcoming steps in the traffic analysis process. Next, I'll give a summary of some of the origin and destination data associated with the study area. Then I'll review the major inputs used to calculate 2050 future traffic conditions and summarize 2050 future traffic conditions within the study area. Lastly, I'll wrap up with a summary of the major presentation points. This slide summarizes the traffic evaluations conducted at each step of corridor development. Currently, during the task force step, we developed existing traffic conditions, including average daily, peak, and truck traffic. And in this presentation, we will be sharing future year 2050 baseline or no-build traffic. In the planning and corridor evaluation step, corridor alternatives will be developed using many inputs, including daily traffic volumes. During the project development and environment and design step, a more refined traffic analysis of the no-build and build alternatives will be completed. Origin and destination data within and around the study area is summarized on this slide. Each day, there are hundreds of thousands of trips that interact with the study area. We have taken a preliminary look at the origins and destinations for these trips and summarized this information in the table shown. The first row shows the number of trips that start and stop within the study area. The second row shows the number of trips that start within the study area and end outside of the study area, and vice versa. The third row shows the number of trips that start and end outside of the study area but pass through the study area. A large portion of the total trips have some form of external interaction with the study area, whether it be as a pass-through trip or as a trip that either starts or ends in the study area. The graphics on this slide show the 2050 future roadway network within and around the study area. The first graphic shows the roadway improvements to be in place by 2050. Roadway widenings are shown in blue, and new facilities are shown in green. The second graphic shows the study area and surrounding roadway network in 2050 by number of lanes. These graphics show population and employment growth in the study area through 2050 as estimated by the statewide model. The darker shaded areas on the graphic show the locations with the greatest anticipated growth. Overall population growth is anticipated to be 26%, and overall employment growth is anticipated to be 33%. The majority of the population and employment growth is focused in Citrus County. This graphic displays the percent change in peak season traffic volumes from 2018 to 2050. For the study area as a whole, traffic is anticipated to grow by 56% from 2018 to 2050. The red lines on the graphic indicate locations where traffic volume growth is anticipated to be greater than 100% by 2050. This slide shows existing and future year truck traffic volumes and truck traffic as a percentage of overall traffic. Actual truck traffic counts are highest along the interstates. Truck traffic volumes are not as high on the local roadways. However, several local roadways within the study area have truck traffic volumes in excess of 10%. Truck traffic, as a high percentage of overall roadway traffic, can reduce capacity. Level of service provides a quantitative grading system ranging from A, being the best, to F, the worst. It is the user's perception of how well a transportation service operates and is measured across multiple modes, including transit, bicycle, pedestrian, and auto. In this case, we are referring to the auto mode. Level of service is based on a combination of traffic volumes, roadway type, number of lanes, and area type. As shown in the table, level of service A and B represent steady traffic flow at or above the posted speed limit. Level of service C and D represent light congestion but still moving near the posted speed limit. Level of service E and F represent heavy congestion with large variances in speed and potential frequent stops. The department has identified a target level of service C in rural areas and a target level of service D in urban areas. This slide provides an overview of the 2050 future level of service on main roadways within and around the study area. In 2050, level of service E and F conditions are anticipated in several study area locations. Most of I-75 in the expanded analysis area is also anticipated to be operating at level of service E and F in 2050. Deficient roads are those that do not meet the department's target level of service. As previously mentioned, in rural areas, target level of service is C. In urban areas, target level of service is D. These graphics show locations within and around the study area where traffic volumes exceed the target level of service. Comparing existing year 2018 conditions to the future year 2050, there are many roadways within and around the study area that are forecasted to operate with a deficiency. These include I-75 and I-10, US 90, US 27, and many other major roadways. In summary, here's a review of the major presentation takeaways. A high-level look at origin and destination data in the study area reveals that nearly 40% of all study area trips have some type of external interaction. Either they pass through the study area or they start or end outside of the study area. This external trip interaction contributes to the fact that traffic is anticipated to grow faster than population and employment by 2050. A preliminary review of level of service in and around the study area shows that many segments will not meet the target level of service in 2050. This includes most of I-75 adjacent to the study area.
Next, Ryan Asmus will review existing capacity projects planned for the corridor.
This presentation will discuss the existing capacity projects that are in project development environmental phases or in construction. We want to provide a snapshot of some of the major planning and project development and environmental studies within the corridor, such as those that provide widening, are on the interstate, and have major influence on the operations of interchanges. The MCORS program will coordinate future efforts with these planned and completed studies. Some examples are shown in the on-screen legend, and you can view the remaining projects on the handout posted in the resource section of the virtual meeting. The traffic studies and modeling has taken this into account and illustrates the need even with these improvements. In addition, we also wanted to provide a snapshot of some of the major construction projects within and near the corridor study area, such as those that provide widening, are on the interstate, and have major influence on the operations of interchanges, which are either ongoing or planned to go to construction by 2050. The MCORS program will coordinate any parameters and plans with these construction projects. Some examples are shown in the on-screen legend, and you can view the remaining projects on the handout posted in your resource section of the virtual meeting.
You have seen the avoidance and enhancement graphic for the Suncoast corridor, and Ryan Asmus will present this section of the module, which will add opportunities for co-location as well as explain the homework assignment FDOT is asking task force members to complete before the upcoming webinar.
At Task Force Meeting number 4, we showed you some initial avoidance layer categories that the department recognized from what you brought forward in past meetings as important to you. Today we want to add to the map existing roads that offer potential for co-location to illustrate opportunities to reuse existing alignments to minimize impacts, while at the same time offering opportunities for enhancement. As presented at Task Force Meeting number 4, the two original categories used to develop the preliminary avoidance map were will not impact, areas that have been identified as absolute avoidance areas, and no new corridor through. No new corridors will be proposed through these areas that are for the MCORS purpose. Corridors are predominantly considered to be existing federal, state, and local facilities. However, they may also include approved and ongoing PD&E studies that will either maintain the department's work program or be evaluated to be repurposed for the use of MCORS if they meet the task force guiding principles. As requested during Task Force Meeting number 4, we reviewed the additional requested layers for avoidance and have provided 2 additional categories that the task force can classify the layers as impact only with enhancement. These resources have been identified by the task force as areas that could enhance the natural and physical environment, bringing economic benefit or quality of life improvements within the study area, even with considerations for impacts from a proposed MCORS corridor. These areas may also be utilized to offset impacts of a proposed MCORS corridor within the study area. FDOT standard analysis areas. The department commits that these areas will be reviewed and analyzed following FDOT standard policies and procedures to determine if they are to be avoided or impacts are to be minimized, with mitigation required and enhancements recommended. We are asking you as a task force to do a little homework between this task force module and Task Force Meeting number 6. Please review these new category definitions and then classify the additional layers you suggested in Task Force Meeting Number 4 to one of these 4 categories. Have your thoughts ready for discussion at our next Task Force meeting. To help you a little with this assignment, we have developed a new web-based GIS application with the initial avoidance layers presented at Task Force Meeting Number 4 and the additional Task Force requested layers from that meeting as well. This is a separate web application from the originally developed GIS tool on the website. Using this tool, you'll be able to visually see what happens on the map with each layer as you consider classifications for the various resources into these categories. The link to this GIS tool will be sent out in a separate email. Also, to be of further assistance, we'll be scheduling one-on-one meetings with you and our production team. Our production teams will help each of you understand what the various layers are and make sure that you know how to use this tool. Here is a screenshot illustration of the tool that will allow you to toggle on and off the layers that were the initial avoidance layers as shown on the previous avoidance map, but then also to toggle on and off the additional layers brought up at Task Force Meeting Number 4. This screenshot illustrates one example, rare species habitat conservation priorities. These layers have not been formally placed into any categories yet. It is your homework to review these layers and determine which categories you believe they should be assigned to. After all task force members have submitted their layer category assignments, there will be follow-up discussion in future meetings to work towards consensus on how these would apply to the development of the guiding principles and any further commitments.
Welcome to the final presentation of Module 3. In this last presentation, Ryan Asmus will review existing corridor enhancement opportunities.
Based on your guiding principles, there have been several discussions on opportunities for enhancement, especially if reutilizing existing alignments to minimize impacts. FDOT is committed to the following enhancements for co-location. Water quality. There are opportunities to enhance water quality, additional wildlife crossings, and opportunities for design features to accommodate crossings. And then, an example shown here is a quality of life example, where there is an opportunity to construct multi-use systems, such as pedestrian and bicycle shared use paths, to enhance the quality of life in the region. Here are additional enhancement commitments, many of which were brought forward during the guiding principles discussion and what is important to you. Improved water flow. This is an example of bridging that allows for water flow. This was specifically mentioned regarding the restoration of sheet flow within the corridor. Connecting and expanding conservation lands that include opportunities for innovative right-of-way purchasing and partnership with agencies. Maximizing the use of existing right-of-way by preserving and providing opportunities for partnerships with utility providers. Connecting and expanding wildlife corridors to reduce fragmentation and enhance connections.
This concludes this online module for the Suncoast Corridor. FDOT thanks you for your continued involvement with the task force and appreciates your efforts in viewing all 4 online modules for Task Force Meeting Number 5.